Yes or no? In today's video, we're going to go through all Scarlet and Violet era sets and say whether you should invest in the sealed products or not. Well, before we jump into that, I think it's best to define what's a good set and what's a bad set, because ultimately we could just say invest in all of them. I mean, diversify, they're all going to go up in value, but if we look back historically, there's always sets that perform way better in each era than others. And if we look at why they perform way better, well, it's because they're a better Pokemon card set. And predominantly that's made up, for the most part, from the top 10 chase cards. You know, the better the top hit, the better the top 5 hits, the better the top 10 hits, the better the Pokemon card set's going to perform. So let's jump into this real quickly. Let's look at probably one of these, the best, if not the best Pokemon card set in history, EX Team Rocket Returns, to look at what a god tier set really looks like. If you look at the top chase cards inside here, first, of course, it was the introduction of Gold Star cards. We just had so many bangers. Look how this Pokemon card set really sticks to its lineup. Like, it's really trying to set a theme here with all the dark type Pokemon, all the legends that we think of when it comes to Team Rocket with Dragonite and Scyther and Gyarados and Mewtwo. Like, what a well done Pokemon card set. If we fast forward a little bit further into more modern eras from Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon, for argument's sake, we also had some S tier, if not maybe god tier sets. So if we look at Sun and Moon, you know, of course we had sets like Team Up, which is a phenomenal Pokemon card set, of course got short printed. In that same breath, I really think we need to mention Cosmic Eclipse there as well. The top 10 chase cards in Cosmic Eclipse are showing incredible growth, and they're performing extremely well. And nearly, and look, maybe an honorable mention, but you know, Unified Minds, I've said for a while I really like Unified Minds, and I think it was a really strong investment back in the day when it was, you know, of course, $200, $300 US a booster box. So coupled with that, if we move to Sword and Shield, you know, there is really a god tier set in there. You know, the combination of evolutions and dragons put together. Could we have maybe had a couple more dragons to make that set a true god tier set? Quite possibly. Obviously, the evolutions shine through really strongly, but that is one hell of a Pokemon card set, Evolving Skies. So moving forward on to Scarlet and Violet. That then, of course, brings up the question, you know, which sets should you invest in? And of course, like I said at the start, maybe you should just invest in all of them. Diversify, look, they're all going to go up in value. But if we look at those lists, you know, if we compare something like a Cosmic Eclipse and a Team Up to other Sun and Moon sets, or we compare Evolving Skies to other Sword and Shield sets, we get this massive discrepancy in price. And that's predominantly built up, of course, from the main chase cards, because that's why people want to open a Pokemon card set. They're chasing that big hit. It's almost like gambling, isn't it? Especially when the set gets a bit older and it gets in the secondary market, and it's not in the hands of essentially, you know, adults buying for their kids or kids opening them more. It moves into the hands of collectors and investors, and they're chasing the big hits. That's just a bit of a no-brainer. So let's start with Scarlet and Violet base. In Scarlet and Violet base, we have a few top hits, and look, it's maybe the best base set we've had in a little while. Is it investable in my opinion? Like any base set, it'll go up, but I think if we compare it to both Sword and Shield base and Sun and Moon base, you're probably going to get a bit of a similar outcome there. Would I say it's the best investment? No. Would I still have a couple in my collection? Yes. Would I go all in on it and buy case after case? No, I wouldn't. But I do think it's one of the best base sets we've had in a while, and there's some incredible artworks in there. The Gardevoir lineup's really cool. The Miraidon and Koraidon, the special illustration rares, are really, really nice artworks inside there. If we move on to the next set, of course, that came out, which is Paldea Evolved. Look, I think this is a B/B plus tier set. I'm not saying it's a bad set in any way, shape or form. I really love what they did with the new generation, the new starter lineups. The illustration rares in this are just incredible, particularly, of course, Shinji Kanda's Magikarp, that top chase. But if you look at the top 10, what's memorable in there? Of course, the Magikarp is super memorable. The Tyranitar and the Sleeping Raichu are really nice Pokemon cards. The Marill I really like, but then you compare it to other A tier or God tier sets or S tier sets, the ones I mentioned, you know, Unified Minds, Hidden Fates, Crown Zenith, and then of course the bigger hitters, Team Up, Cosmic Eclipse, Evolving Skies. Does it stack up to them? Has it been given too much love because it was the best booster box in, you know, the first 5 and they weren't all that great? Quite possibly. Not saying it's a bad set, not at all. Is it investable? Yes, it's proven to be incredibly investable. The time to invest in it though, of course, was 12 months ago. I've said for a while, I think this will sort of sit for a while, out of rotation it'll jump up, and then I think it'll stagnate around that $500 to $600 US mark for quite some time, something like, or similar to what Burning Shadows did for a while. And it'll jump back up again. It'll become a $1,000 booster box one day. Next one, of course, on the list is Obsidian Flames. Obsidian Flames is probably one of, if not the weakest Pokemon card main set from Scarlet and Violet era. There's not a great deal of chop in there, is there? That Charizard is quite a cool looking Charizard. I don't think it's as nice as Paldean Fate's Charizard, but it is quite a cool looking Charizard. There's not much to write home about here. Would I have one in the collection? Yes, I would. Would I invest heavily into it? No, I would not. Next one on our list, of course, the Honorable 151. What a Pokemon card set. What a throwback to nostalgia. Fantastic job. Could this set have been better? Yes, it could have had the Mew and Mewtwo, which the Japanese version got. It could have also had the Master Ball and Pokeball reverse holos. Then it would have been almost nudging on S tier in my opinion. I still think it's an A plus tier set. Would I invest in it? Yes, I would. When was the best time to invest in it? Of course, probably 18 months ago. But look, we can't rewind back time. If you don't have any of this set's not going to get any cheaper. The products aren't going to get any cheaper. I've said for a while, the booster packs are going to be like $50 booster packs one day. So even if you can get an Alakazam EX product because it's, it's still getting stocked up at local stores. This is not a short printed set. There's plenty of it around. Those booster packs inside those collection boxes are one day probably going to be $50 booster packs. So I don't think it's a bad idea if you can even get, collection boxes from your local gaming store. Paradox Rift was the next cab off the rank. This set doesn't really have a lot to write home about in my opinion. The Groudon is a stunning looking card. There are a lot of really nice illustration and special illustration rares in this set. What's memorable though? That's the big question, isn't it? The Roaring Moon is a nice artwork. The Iron Valiant, I think, is an even nicer artwork. So there are some very, very nice artworks inside here. But again, look at the top 10 chase cards. When we think of booster boxes and how they're going to perform, is this a sleeper set? I mean, a lot of people talk about that. Do I think it is? Personally, no. Do I think it's terrible? Also, no. Do I think it's B plus tier? No. Is it investable? I think there's going to be better performing booster boxes. Would I have it in my collection? Yes. Would I go heavy into it? No, I wouldn't. Next cab off the rank, Paldean Fates. This is the one that's proven to be a bit of a sleeper, and that Bubble Mew is one hell of a chase card. That Charizard is an awesome artwork. The Gardevoir is awesome, and then we move into the shinies. Actually, I think there's an Iono there in the top 4. Then we move into the shinies. We do have some Gen 1 shinies sitting there, including a full art shiny Mew. This set is an absolute banger, and I think it's taken people by surprise. Of course, again, the best time to invest in it would have been 18 months ago, but this is an awesome Pokemon card set. I would invest in it, yes, most definitely. I would have as many as you can inside the collection. I think it's a fantastic Pokemon card set, Paldean Fates. Moving on to Temporal Forces. I do love the artwork on this Pokemon card set. I really, really do. You know, the one thing it somewhat reminds me of Temporal Forces, I like the theme of it, I love the artwork. It somewhat reminds me a little bit of Chilling Reign, and I'll explain my logic behind that. Chilling Reign feels like it's undervalued, and so many content creators, including myself, have said that it's undervalued for so long. And look, it's getting its time in the sun. It's not a cheap Pokemon card set anymore. When it was $100 or $120 US and we're all saying it's undervalued, well, of course, if you'd invested then, we'll look at it now. But it just, like, it has the Blaziken, which is an amazing chase card. A lot of people don't like the artwork. I'm 50-50 on it. You look at the art is phenomenal inside it. But the chase cards don't really resonate with everyone, do they? And it's a bit like Temporal Forces. And I get it, maybe Gen 9 lovers and kids these days when they grow up will love this booster box and it'll resonate with them. I do get that side of the argument. But is there anything special in there that really resonates? The artwork is super special, don't get me wrong. And I get it, you can't just say, oh, look, you've got to have Gen 1 to 4 in every Pokemon card set, otherwise there's no hits. Yeah, okay, but, you've got to give the crowd what the crowd wants, don't you? That's what people like to see, and unfortunately this set, that's why the Ghastly and Morty's Conviction are such strong chase cards inside this set, because they've got the Gen 1 Pokemon inside there. Same thing, I would have a few of these in my collection, but I wouldn't go heavy into Temporal Forces, but I still think it's going to perform pretty well. What's the next cab off the rank? We must be up to about Twilight Masquerade, mustn't we? This has a really, really strong chase card inside it. A very strong chase card. I do really like that Greninja. It's one of my favourite special illustration rares. Just because it's my favourite doesn't mean it's everyone's favourite. I get that, but I do like that chase card. I do think there's a little bit of depth here. I do like the fact that we've got a couple of trainer chase cards up the top. Does it remind me fully of Ultra Prism? No, it's not a heavily stacked trainer set, but it is cool that we have 2 trainers up there, coupled with the Greninja and a few other ancillary hits in there. I think it'll perform pretty well. I think it's almost on par with like a Paldea Evolved in my opinion. I think they're quite similar sets, and you've got that that $250 to $300 chase card sitting at the top, and a couple of ancillary hits around that $50 to $60 US mark. So I think, in my opinion, it's a B/B plus set. Paldea Evolved maybe has a little bit more depth in its illustration rare chase cards. So I think, same thing, I would have a fair few of these in my collection. Would I go all in? Would I choose not to invest in it? No, I wouldn't choose not to invest in it, and I wouldn't go all in. But I think it's a good set, similar to Paldea Evolved, to have a fair few booster boxes sitting in your collection there. Now, next cab off the rank was Shrouded Fable. This one is shrouded in a bit of controversy. I do like the theme of this set though. Like, look through it. The theme is really, really good. It's just there's not many chase cards inside there. I love that Dust Skull lineup. I love the Persian. I think there are some nice looking Pokemon cards in this set. Houndoom is pretty cool. Look, there's playable cards sitting as the most expensive in those two gold cards up there. Who knows? I mean, who knows with this set? This could be the dark horse of Scarlet and Violet, where if you'd bought in at super low elite trainer box prices, you could be performing really well. Personally, I've just got one in the collection, just because, you know, I think it's nice to have one of each elite trainer box in the collection. So that's what I've done with it. But hey, each to their own on that one. Stellar Crown moving on. This is again one of the weaker booster box sets from the Scarlet and Violet era. It's probably right on par with Obsidian Flames as being arguably the weakest. I do like the Bulbasaur and Squirtle. I do not like how they complement the Obsidian Flames Charmander promo. Do we have heaps in there? The Terapagos Legendary, you know, that's really dropped in price from where it was sitting. Again, I'm having one or two in the collection. How many do I think I've only got 2 booster boxes. Would I go all in on it? No, it's not one that I would go all in on. Surging Sparks though, here's where we start stepping things up. We have a Pikachu chase card, we have a Latios, we have a Latios, we have Hydreigon, we have Milotic. There's so many good Pokemon cards inside this set. The chase cards are ripper. Is it as good a top 10 as something like Team Up or Cosmic Eclipse or Evolving Skies? No, it's not. Is it a really good Pokemon card set? Yes, it is. This is one that I would invest more heavily into. This is the one that I would be buying a few cases of Surging Sparks. What a good Pokemon card set. Moving along, then we have Prismatic Evolutions. What a banger of a Pokemon card set. Love or hate the artwork, this brought so many good things to the TCG. We have Master Balls and Reverse Hollows for English, tick tick. We have all the evolutions inside there. The Umbreon as the main chase card. My 2 favourites are the Umbreon and Espeon. They're also my 2 favourites from the whole Evolutions old art lineup from Sword and Shield. We of course got one in Fusion Strike and one in Evolving Skies. By all means, look, we all know this wasn't going to be a short printed set because of how popular it is. And look, the prices of the chase cards are holding strong. I think this is a fantastic set to invest in. In 5 or 10 years time, you know, you would be thinking you missed out, even at, what are they now, 120, 140 US dollars a elite trainer box. But either way, fantastic Pokemon card set to invest in. Before we round out the final boxes, I just want to give a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, which is of course the Collector app. You can follow my journey down in the Collector app down at the bottom in the content creators section. And the big one is though, you've got set analytics inside this set now. So not only can you jump into a set and scroll through and see the top chase cards inside the set and see their value, the big one now is you can jump into set analytics. What set analytics allows you to do is see total set value of the set. It gets to show you market movers inside the set, so what's hot inside a set. And we all know as an investor, I talk about this all the time, the total set value, the top chase cards are so important to the future value of a booster box or a sealed product. So if you're a sealed investor, this app is going to be so great for you to check out your collection and make sure you're making smart decisions when it comes to investing in Pokemon cards. Again, there'll be a link in the description for this app. Well, we must be up to Journey Together. I actually quite like Journey Together. I do plan on picking up more booster boxes of it. I love the fact that it's got box toppers. That's so cool. We haven't seen that in such a long time. I really like Lily's Clefairy. I really like Salamence. There's a few other chase cards inside here. Does it have 10 absolute banger top hits? No, it doesn't. But does it have a few, and is it a little bit better than what we thought? Yes, I think it is. Moving along, then we get Destined Rivals, don't we? And whew, what a Pokemon card set. Could it have been better? Yes, it could. Is it as good as EX Team Rocket Returns? No. But it is the best main set booster box that we've got from the whole Scarlet and Violet era. Love it or hate it, Mewtwo seems to get a lot of flack, and there are other people that like it. It is a cool looking Pokemon card in my opinion. Ethan's Ho-Oh, Moltres, Nidoking. Like, there is a good top 10, you know, Misty's Psyduck. There's so many cards that do round out the top 10. Is it the best top 10 we've ever seen? No, it's not. Is it the best top 10 from the whole Scarlet and Violet era when it comes to booster boxes? Yes, it is. So for that reason, I do think it's a good investment to have in your collection. It is one, coupled with Surging Sparks, that I would go heavy in when it comes to investing in booster boxes. And to round out Scarlet and Violet era, of course, we have White Flare and Black Bolt. These are better Pokemon card sets than they're given credit for. I do actually quite like both of them. I actually think they're going to be really good investments, mainly because of the depth that sits inside them. Well, not only depth, but also big chase cards too. Depth and big hits. That's a winning combination when it comes to a Pokemon card set. There's some cool looking, I love the Hydreigon. That is such a cool, both Zekrom and Reshiram, you know, they're both really good special illustration rares. They've done a good job to round out this era. I know we're moving into Mega Evolutions next, which is sort of you know, part of this era and sort of part of not. But there you go. That's where I would park my money when it comes to Scarlet and Violet era. I'm Michael. This is PokeOz. Catch everyone next time.